Hey, it's Jared. In this video, I'm going to compare the Plaud Note Pen and the Note because I wanted to check out these devices. They've been marketed to me on pretty much every platform possible, and I thought I'd give them a try. I've been using AI voice recorders that are apps that live on my phone, but I wanted to see if there was any value to having a hardware device, and also which of these two devices is the best option based on the situations that I find myself needing to use them. And then also, is the Plaud software worth the subscription fee? So there's a lot that we're going to cover here. First, we're going to start talking about the hardware. Now, there are two different devices that Plaud offers. The Note has been the device that they've had out for a while, and I have it here with the magnetic back. So it's the MagSafe back, so I could snap it onto the back of my iPhone, and then it's always available when I need it. Now, this was not the first one that I purchased. I purchased the Note Pen first, but initially I started experiencing some issues with the Note Pen that have since been fixed with a software update, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. So what led me down this was needing to have an app running on my device. On the iPhone, you can run an app in the background and it will record audio. But sometimes I switch over to Android, and I've run into Android issues with apps like Otter AI and other voice recorder tools that when the screen would shut off, the voice recording would stop as well. And it didn't matter what settings I went and adjusted for the different apps, I could not get some of those apps to remain persistent in the background and record audio. So I wanted a device that was going to work cross-platform, didn't matter which platform that I was on, because this is a standalone device. I could record, doesn't even matter what phone I'm using. I just simply sync my device when I get back, doesn't matter what phone I have or what phone I don't have. So like I said, I started out with the Note Pen, and I put it on the necklace because I figured in most situations I'm going to be there and I can just have this underneath my shirt and I can press down and hit record, and then it would record whatever I needed to remember, whether it was a meeting conversation or a training that I was doing or something like that. I could simply hit record and then it would be good to go. The initial problem with the Note Pen is that when you press and hold, it would vibrate. That would signify to me that it was starting to record. Sometimes it would, but other times it would not. And there were several instances where it would record for 30 seconds, maybe a minute and a half, maybe as much as 3 minutes, and then it would just decide to stop. And I'm not really sure what told the device to do that. It would just stop on me. And so I thought, okay, well, I don't know what's going on with the pen. Maybe it's too new piece of technology. Something's not working here. So I went ahead and ordered the Note as well. The Note's the one that's been around for a little while, and I started comparing the two of them. Things that I really do like about the pen is all of the different accessories that it comes with. You've got a wrist strap, you've got a clip, and then you also have the necklace attachment as well. I wear a smartwatch, so I'm probably not going to wear it on my wrist, and I also don't really like the clip because I feel like the clip, it could just come off. I've been using this while I'm coaching my son's baseball team just to remember different things. I want to remember my players because they're all new kids to me. I want to remember some of the things that we've talked about, and I want to log all of that and kind of create an outline. That's at least one of the things that I was testing it on besides different client meetings. And so I felt like the necklace option was going to be best for me. Now, even with the Note attached to the back of my phone, usually I have my phone in my pocket, which means the microphones are going to be pointing either up or down into my pocket. There's going to be a lot of ruffling around, and I just didn't know if I was going to like that. On top of that, with the Note Pen underneath my shirt, it might be rubbing around on clothing as well. So these were two different conditions in which I figured maybe the audio quality would be less than desirable. So first, let's start with the audio quality of the Note Pen. The website shows that this has one less microphone than the regular Note, and so I wanted to know, is that going to make a difference? And I found that the Note Pen does really good with audio quality so long as there isn't anything rubbing up against it. Now, when I was wearing the Note Pen underneath my shirt and it was rubbing against my shirt, you can hear that rustling of it rubbing against my shirt. And as I'm moving around, because in the instance of coaching the baseball team, I'm moving around a lot too, you can hear the Note Pen moving around and rustling a lot. Now, when in a meeting and I'm sitting stationary, I'm not experiencing that issue. There's not a lot of rustling around. There isn't any issue there. There might be just light adjustments that I would make that would make the shirt kind of brush against the note pen a little bit, and you would hear that. But those are all things that you can easily remove with noise reduction. Now, in the Plaud app, there is an option to enhance the audio, and it does get rid of some of those things, but I found that it was still kind of noticeable. Let's take a listen to a couple examples of audio from the note pen.
And that's going to be your base time for that. And then after we go through everybody, we'll start over again, and then we'll do the 4 bases.
Yeah, I mean, for the product photos, it'll be really easy just to get something set up here and, you know, rinse and repeat every time because it'll be consistent. But for getting, you know, those hero images, the challenge will just be more of like if the background is going to be dark to where you can't really. Now the Plaud app does support multiple devices. I can tap right here and you can see I have my note and my note pen that are connected, and it has a green light just to show which one is actually on and connected. So the Plaud note that's attached to the back of the phone technically is connected right now, and I can also switch to the other device and it will search for it and it will wake up the device and connect to it. So you can see that it's connected there. And then these are all of the different audios that I've recorded, some of them with the note, some of them with the note pen. For example, here is the starting of the recording for the baseball practice, and this one ended just all by itself. You can see right in here, the audio just stopped at 2 minutes and 51 seconds. I then later on meant to stop the recording and actually started a new recording and recorded the second half of practice that I wasn't planning on recording. You don't really know that this is going on. I did open up the Plaud app, and after a couple of seconds, you'll see that it's recording. And another way to tell is if you look on the front of the note pen, there's a little hole here and there would be a little red light to show recording. And at the time that I did pull this out and just kind of held it out in front of me and looked, it had a red light on it. Now, like I said, they did update the firmware really recently. And now there is a longer vibration. So when you hold it, it will start to vibrate and it will vibrate more intensely and then stop, and that signifies that you have started recording. So I think the problem might have been that the vibration was not identifiable to the point where I would hold it long enough to start recording. It would vibrate, I would let off, and perhaps I needed to hold longer to keep that going, or perhaps I maybe held too long and it started and stopped things. I don't really know, but whatever happened, it was just too confusing. And in that situation, I pressed and held to hit record. I felt the vibration. I thought that that was signifying that we were recording. And in fact, it did for a little while and then just stopped on its own. Now with the note itself, I have not had one single issue with the note on the back of this device. I can look at the back of the device and write in the letter A. There would be a red light that would show me that I'm recording, or a white light that would show me that recording has stopped, or that the device is in standby and ready to start recording. I also have a switch here to kill the microphone during recording if I needed to. While we're recording, I could just hit that switch. It kills the microphone, but it doesn't stop the recording, and then I can turn the microphone back on. I like having that feature. Perhaps there's some sort of press feature on the pen, but I would feel too scared in the sense that I might accidentally stop recording. And with the note pen, it's going to be on the necklace. It's going to be clipped on you. I guess if it's on your wrist, you can look at it and more easily see it. But with the note pen, it's just not as obvious to me based on the way that you would probably use the note pen. For me, the necklace, I'm going to have it around my neck. It's going to be under my shirt so that it's not a distraction. And I would be hitting record and I just simply can't see the light unless I pull the whole thing out. I like the note pen. I obviously ordered it first, and I thought that that would be the best option for me because I didn't want to be stuck to having a device maybe stuck to the back of my phone, or I guess I could pull this out and slide it into a pocket if I have a pocket on my shirt. I guess if I had like a MagSafe magnet, I could attach it to my clothes or something like that, or even just put this by itself in my pocket. But I find it best just to keep it on the back of my phone, and that's how I find myself using it. Now on the note, according to the website, there's an additional microphone. I didn't really notice any difference in audio quality when I tried to put these microphones in the same situation. So for example, if we press and hold on both of these,
and record. So I pressed and held on this. Now we've got a red light here, we've got a red light here, and I'm recording on both of these. I didn't notice any audio difference between the two. Now, granted, there could be microphone positional differences, because if I am wearing the pin on the front of me, the microphone's going to be facing forward. This is a good position for a typical lapel microphone. And if somebody was sitting across from me, this would also be a good position for the microphone to catch their audio. With the Note itself attached either to the back of my phone or somewhere else, I might want to set this off to the side at a 90-degree to me and the other person that I'm trying to record the conversation or the training or whatever it is, so that the microphones pick those up well. If it's just sitting like this, now I'm talking and the sound is coming around into the microphone. So I mean, there's differences there in positioning. Being a video person, I know that I would prefer to have audio on myself like this. When I used to shoot weddings back in the day, I would put a lapel microphone on the groom, and that would get me good audio. And then when the bride is standing right in front of the groom, the bride would be talking and it would go right into the microphone, and nobody would know that the bride was never mic'd up in the first place. The audio was always great. And so to me, I really do like the pin better in the sense of its usefulness and ability to position it in different ways. Whereas the Note is a kind of flat device, like the size of a credit card, maybe the thickness of 2 or 3 credit cards, and you're going to have to figure out how to position that. And it is a red light that's on that shows people that you're recording, and if anybody's seen one of these devices, they know what it is. Now, I believe that you shouldn't hit record and record conversations when people don't know what's going on, but it is nice to have that out of the way and for it not to be a distraction. For example, I had a conversation with a mentor and friend of mine, and we were discussing topics, and I told him, we'd been talking about AI, and I told him that I was going to record it. And so what I did was I just took my phone and I placed my phone down like this, and I checked the audio quality later, and it's not bad. But my phone screen was coming on all the time. It was obviously a distraction. And so one way or another, I feel like the Note itself is going to be a little bit of a distraction just because it's on the table. It's an obvious recording device, whereas the Note pen itself is something that you could obscure. You can hide it under clothes. You can clip it somewhere that's not very noticeable. There's lots of different ways that you can use it, and it's quite a bit smaller than the standard Note. So another thing I haven't noticed really much of a difference on is transferring a file. So I did just record a segment of this video, and you can see on the Note pen, it showed up right here, and it has already copied that over. Now I can switch over to the Note, and once the Note connects, it will start to transfer the audio file as well. And you can see this about 3-minute long video, how fast it transfers, and has a fast transfer option, which then allows you to connect over a Wi-Fi connection to the Note. And I highly recommend doing that when you have a longer recording, like an hour-plus long recording will take quite a while to transfer if you don't use the fast transfer option. So which device should you choose, the Note or the Note Pen? Well, I think it comes down to how you're going to be using the device. If you want something that's more out of the way and you are going to be in the conversation, part of the conversation, use the Note Pen, clip it to yourself, or use the necklace option. You could use the wrist strap, but to me, this is not something that I would wear around my wrist. It's not a very masculine looking case, and I just don't like the look and design of it. So I wouldn't be wearing this pretty much ever. Like, I wouldn't wear anything that looked like that. Now, the clip itself is a great option as well. I just simply remove the magnetic piece from the back, and then I could put the clip on here. And even though they aren't color matched, which is kind of weird, I could clip this to anything. Or perhaps a less secure option, but definitely something you can do. You take the magnetic back, you slide it into your shirt, or in this case, my hoodie, and then attach it like so. And so obviously this is thicker material and it's attaching, and it feels pretty secure. Like, I could sit here and I wouldn't worry about this going anywhere. But if I was out walking around, I mean, it doesn't take much for this just to fall off and then I've lost it or it's damaged after hitting the ground. And so the clip is probably going to be the safest bet. But if you're in a situation where you're pretty much stationary, you can just magnetically attach it. And then, of course, to charge the Note Pen, you remove the magnetic back, you attach it to this little dock,
and then you use a USB-C cable right in the side of it. Now with the Note, you have a 4-pin connector that attaches to the back, and you can use it with the magnetic case. You just have to line it up and make sure that the contact points are hitting, but you can charge it through this case. Now, lastly, I'll talk about battery life. Both of these advertise the same battery life, and I haven't seen any situation where I would argue with that. I haven't used these devices to exhaustion and logged the amount of record time that I got out of each of them, but I find myself using these a couple of times a week, probably capturing between 4 and 6 hours of audio every week, and both of them have maintained quite a bit of battery. Now, I do, of course, because of the pin being smaller, tend to think that this one's going to have less battery, and because I need a specific dock, I just always will have the dock with me just in case. I'll throw it on the dock when I know that I have a longer recording coming up. I don't even have to take it off of the necklace attachment for that. It's very simple. And then the same thing with the Note, I will make sure it's topped off if I know that I have a longer recording. But so far, I have no reason to doubt the advertised recording times. So while I do like the utility of the Note Pen better, I felt more secure using the Note because the Note has not stopped recording on me yet, hasn't caused any problems, whereas the Note Pen has. But like I said, there was a new firmware update just the other day, and since that firmware update, I haven't had any issues with the Note Pen, so perhaps they fixed it. But with that, time will tell. I'm definitely going to record a couple more things this week just to check and see and make sure that there aren't any more issues, because personally, I think for me, the Note Pen is the better option. I would rather wear this around my neck on the necklace and have that easy accessibility there than have to worry about my phone being on the table or having this device sitting somewhere. And so I'll be coming back and doing a longer term review of the Plaud service itself. And of course, I'll be talking about whatever hardware I decided to keep. But the long-term review really is going to come down to the software and the processing. Now, I'm lastly just quickly going to talk about the software itself. I think the software is great. For example, here is a summary of the portion of baseball practice that I did not intend to record, and it gives me an overview. It's outlined all of my practice drills and strategy for communication, game dynamics. It gives me some key takeaways, an overview of the practice session, some practice logistics, team management, and then some miscellaneous stuff like answering some of the questions that the players had. Now, if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, it's made out an action items list for me. Some of these don't matter, don't really make any sense based on the conversation, but it's neat that it included them. For example, confirm jersey colors and communicate to the team. I don't need to do that. I'm just going to wait until they give us our jerseys and then tell the team what colors they are. There's also the AI suggestion down at the bottom. It identified issues that were not concluded in the meeting or lacked clear action. And so I love this section because it doesn't always make sense, but it's essentially identifying areas that there wasn't enough clarity for AI to detect an outcome or a clear resolution to whatever was being talked about. And so it's nice to have these there. There have been a couple instances where I've looked at that and thought, yeah, we talked about that, and we didn't have a clear resolution to that. And even though we knew that and we recognized it, it's neat that AI identified that in the Plaud app. And it's something, if I was in a longer meeting and there were more people that were involved, it would be really nice to see if there were any areas that we missed or lacked clarity in. So I've also used a handful of other apps that live on the phone and use the phone's capability for recording. And I'm going to come back and do a comparison of Plaud and Otter AI because I think those are probably two of the most popular right now. Plaud with their own hardware, and then Otter, just an app that utilizes your phone's hardware for recording. But there's differences there in what those apps do and also their output performance. And so I'm going to come back and review those in another video. If you're looking at getting a Note or a Note Pen, check out the links down in the description below. Using those links helps support the channel. I appreciate you clicking on them. But that's going to do it for this video. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you back in another one. Take care.